The time you guys see this video uploaded, it's probably going to be early Monday morning. I know that you've probably been worried because if you don't follow me on social media, you're probably like, where's Chibi? Is he okay? Did something happen? Don't worry, I'm not dying. I'm okay. I'm healthy. I'm happy, actually. I've had a fantastic past few days. Just a little bit of delays, but do not worry. Like I said, if you follow me on social media, you're probably already filled in. You know what's going on, but if you're not, well, don't worry, everything is a-okay. Well, anyways, let's begin. So this episode of Sword Art Online Season 3. Can we just mention that Kirito's student just rushed up to him while this man's handcuffed? Like, he's handcuffed to prison. Can we talk about how awkward that is? Just how it does not fit? Like, you know, just everything that's going on. Like, you know, if you're going to prison, okay, or jail, and someone's just, like, trying to offer you, like, some form of food or whatever, lunch, and you're like, yeah, you're going to prison, but, you know, I'm making it for you. You know for a fact you're not going to be able to eat that. Like, there's just no way you'd be able to eat that. It's very out of place and funny that, you know, the last gift that she could to while he's in flight by a dragon, being held by chains while, like, strapped up to where he can't even move his arms, and his arms are behind his back. I mean, definitely realistic. I mean, if you were that you know, Kirito in that moment, you'd definitely be able to, you know, hold the food if you're in flight just dangling like a madman. The world that Kirito is currently in, it's really not equipped with really dealing with people that break it because, you know, how the, you know, AI, how they work, you know, they normally follow the taboo index. They never break it. Even though there's laws in place, they always follow it. And so, you know, even though if someone does break it and they, you know, have to abide by certain other rules, like for instance putting them in a jail cell, they don't really think about people thinking outside the box, breaking out of the jail cell or anything. You can see those problems play a very big part. You know, they were able to just use the chains that they were chained up with inside this prison cell and just smack them against each other just to be able to get out. It seems very dumb, and in a way it does sound dumb. I mean, if you heard something like that just in a regular story and didn't understand the context, it's pretty dumb. But the reason what makes it so interesting, it goes along with what has been established already in the previous episodes. With how the AI, they don't think about how, you know, people can break laws, because nobody steals. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh! An example, about like 3 or 4 episodes ago, when Kirito's like, aren't you, you know, afraid someone's gonna break in and steal that sword or whatever? He's like a powerful magical weapon or something was in like a storage house, but he never locked it because nobody would ever steal. That's just how the AI work in this world. And so obviously, you know, that's one I can't really comprehend the fact that they could just break out with ease. And so that is why it was so simple. But anyways, carrying on though, we can obviously see that Alice is very different compared to the other AI that has been displayed, because one of the big things we see at the end of the episode is that she had a hunch that apparently Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh! Would be able to break out, even though, like I've already said in this video, they pretty much didn't prepare for it because how the chains were or whatever, but she had a hunch that they would be able to break out, which is interesting because it's like they knew it would happen. As Season 3 started, and how we know it's obvious that her memories or something were tampered, or she's a clone or whatever. We know she's an oddball, and she's different, and so for all we know, she might still remember things that happened in the past really can do for them. So, yeah, let's get into that, actually. So, Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh! They're in a situation at the end to where, you know, an Integrity Knight stands before them. Now, it is stated at the end, the dude, when he introduces himself, that he is relatively new. He's a new guy, and he's just a new knight that was, you know, currently established. And so he's nothing, like, too spectacular. He's not, like, a high-ranking guy that's been around for a very long time. And if you paid attention to his number when it came out, like, you know, saying he was the 31st or whatever, it's one number after Alice's, which was 30, which shows that, you know, becoming an Integrity Knight, there's a big gap between it, because we could assume that if this is the same Alice, and it was like 6 years, 4 years ago, I forget how long the time span was, but if we assume many years have passed and took that long just to be able to have a new Integrity Knight at the same time. But that's the interesting part. Now, the thing I'm trying to get at, though, is that the Integrity Knight that said he's just only been here for like a few weeks or whatever, like a month or so, it means that he's kind of like a greenhorn. He's someone that isn't like probably as skilled or really in the know of everything that goes on, and so it's kind of like he's the weakest probably out of all of them. And so if, you know, Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh, if you know, if there's anyone they had to face, this is probably the best opponent they could potentially fight, because he isn't someone that's probably as strong as Alice or other characters like Integrity Knights, because they've only been introduced in this arc, where, you know, the power of imagination or how much your resolve is to be able to literally bend the will of the world itself. You have it to where, you know, Kirito is going to be facing an opponent like an Integrity Knight that most likely has a lot of pride, because, I mean, he's overcome a lot. He has gotten this far thanks to what he has done. So, I mean, you gotta imagine his resolve to even become something that high up in the world. It's like, you know, an honor. It's like becoming like a knight of a king or something. So you know for a fact, fighting someone like that, even if he is one of the weaker members, he's not going to be easy. For all we know, you know, Kirito and Eugeo could potentially die here, lose limbs, whatever, which this brings into the next point I want to talk about. We get to see a scene with Asuna in this episode, and for the most part, it's nothing really crazy like the dialogue. There's just one little particular thing that sticks out, and it is the AI robot, like just a robot walking around down the stairs, and it looks at Asuna. And that dialogue that we get from that scene basically says that these bodies that are being made, they're bodies that are going to be housing the AI from the world, the underworld. And it's interesting because it stated that a body was synthetic and actually really looked like a human being. And once again, this brings into another big question. You know, what if, let's say, truly Kirito did die in this arc? Hypothetically, no spoilers or whatever, because like I said, I'm not even up to date. I stopped finishing around like volume 12 or 13, and we're pretty much at the point where I read at in the light novel. So, I mean, it makes you really wonder if a character does die, if it is like kind of the equivalent of an SAO. It's not really been established yet. But if it is, and let's say Kirito died or whatever, you know, technically, couldn't he just, like, his subconsciousness? And what if, you know, after this, you know, arc is said and done, maybe Eugeo's mind is uploaded into a synthetic body, and he's able to come out into the real world? It'd be pretty cool. And I wonder if that is the direction the series wants to go, and it might get into the realm of sci-fi and stuff, like, you know, what this series has already been trying to dabble into with Season 3, with how, you know, does AI have rights? You know, do they have a reason to have rights? You know, should we just use them like an object, a tool that we created? Or, you know, do they deserve to be treated like humans? And so if they have a lifelike, human-like body, you know, people might start seeing them as, you know, real people and think they deserve rights. But that's a question for another day. Another little tidbit to add on to the scene as well, there is some little build-up with a parent, like, antagonist, because you see these two scientists that walk down the hallway next to Asuna. I think that's probably good, and something could potentially happen to Kirito, so that, you know, we'll have to see where everything. So, that's pretty much about it when it comes to this week's episode of Sword Art Online. Tell me your thoughts, how you felt about everything, the inner workings of this episode, and how it came down to how they broke out of the gel. Even if it is funny and it's unbelievable in some ways, it does make sense with how the series has already been established.